games have come a long way. The stuff that kids were playing on their consoles and computers 10 or 15 years ago bears practically no resemblance to what people are playing today.
What was that?
When you look past all the technical wizardry and graphical polish, have games really changed all that much? Well, yeah, they have. Specifically, they changed back in 1998, the single greatest year in the entire history of gaming.
No!
98 was a watershed year in which virtually every popular style of game was defined or redefined. These and other instant classics proceeded to shape and define gaming history forever after.
Back then, it looked like bump and jump with swearing. You guys remember bump and jump, right? Grand Theft Auto was released to lukewarm reviews and raised a few eyebrows along the way. But we all know what ended up happening to that little series of games.
It's the best you got.
Looking back, GTA's influence is undeniable. It was the game that proved just how exciting life in the big city could really be.
자, 앱.
Although real-time strategy games had been popular prior to 1998, Blizzard's StarCraft was a groundbreaking hit that set the stage for all RTS games to come. Leading up to StarCraft's release, some skeptics assumed the game would be little more than orcs in space. In other words, a sci-fi coat of paint splashed onto Blizzard's popular Warcraft series.
At once, sire.
StarCraft achieved a perfect balance, making it one of the greatest games of all time.
The Sega Saturn, rival to Sony's PlayStation, ultimately didn't succeed in knocking newcomer Sony back into the realm of consumer electronics. 1998 was pretty much the Saturn's last hurrah, a relative low point in an otherwise amazing year for games. But with outstanding games like Panzer Dragoon Saga and Grandia, both of which were released late in the system's life cycle, it went out with a bang.
Colonel, can you hear me?
Metal Gear Solid was the highly anticipated successor to the old 8-bit stealth games and quickly became a breakthrough hit for designer Hideo Kojima. Who can forget the battle with Psycho Mantis, for example? You actually needed to unplug your controller in order to keep this psychic freak from reading your mind.
I just wanted an excuse to kill as many people as I could.
Metal Gear Solid's cinematic presentation and great storytelling was a cut above anything else on any system that year, and even surpassed a lot of what was being done in movies at that time.
Who are you? I'm like you. I have no name.
Metal Gear Solid may have been flashy, but Thief: The Dark Project did stealth gameplay better than any other game out there. Thief lived up to its original concept, with terrific execution, highly atmospheric sound effects, and some truly creepy levels, combined to give you the feeling that you were really in some fantastical medieval world. Robbing from the rich and keeping the loot for yourself while unintentionally saving the world in the process.
There are others. I can show you. Please. Please. rather cross the land of the dead in your own sports car? Maybe try a luxury ocean cruise? Or, if you led a very good life, you may even be eligible for a ticket on the number 9 itself.
The number 9?
That's our top-of-the-line express train. It shoots straight to the 9th underworld, the land of eternal rest, in 4 minutes instead of 4 years. But very few people qualify. Let's take a look at your records. Well, the bad news is the train appears to be just out of your reach, but I still got a couple of tricks up my sleeve here. Yaha! Yes, that's the ticket. The Excelsior line. Yes, she's a beauty. That compass and the handle will sure come in handy, too. Oh, you're going to have a great trip. Wish I was going.
Why don't you? You could give me a lift.
Oh, I can't leave here until I've worked off a little debt to the powers that be.
Community service, eh? Well, I guess there are some folks worse off than me.
Oh, I'll be leaving here soon enough. No thanks to dead and no commission low-life cases like yours.
Since it was coming from then-unknown developer Valve Software, expectations for Half-Life weren't all that high prior to the game's release. Simply put, Half-Life was incredible. The way in which it wove together realistic scripted sequences with thrilling shootouts and mind-bending puzzles was truly amazing. One of Half-Life's innovations was the way in which it never took you out of the experience. It was a class act that made all other first-person shooters before it pale in comparison. It became the game that everyone tried to emulate, but no one could quite live up to. Considering how predominant the first-person shooter has become, that's saying a lot.
The transition from the 2D days of the 80s to the 3D days of the 90s wasn't a smooth one. But the textbook case for showing how it's done came in the form of The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time for the Nintendo 64. The big revelation in Ocarina of Time comes when you realize how much sense lock-on targeting makes in a third-person action adventure. Since the game would pivot the camera to keep your target in front of you, you could stop fumbling with the camera control and get on to the task at hand. Between its innovative techniques, great story, and interesting puzzles, it was nearly impossible to find fault with Ocarina of Time when it landed in 1998. That's why it's not only our Game of the Year, but it's also the first game on Gamespot to receive a perfect 10 score. Even at the time, we knew we wouldn't need hindsight to declare this one of the greatest games of all time.
$54.24, the price of liberty. Fading stickers loosely slapped across packages of neon green and blue and black and purple. Her pixels no less meaningful than those of her brothers. Her blood no less red, except for mein Fräulein's drops of green. Her shape is shapelier, but her guns never get in the way of her guns. Such is woman. Sister Pac-Man, she really knew how to work it. Even under the weight of the hair bow of man's oppression, her way was the way of man meets man, until woman becomes man, becomes woman, and back again. We here at the Digital Women's Liberation Front have done careful market research and discovered that 73% of all video game VIX females are unrealistically proportioned and underdressed. Our mission, to correct these wrongs with our own list of 12 members that we'd like to sign on. You know, women that like to give men a hard time.
Is that what makes a woman liberated?
Yeah. We might want to keep an eye on our first nominee until we know who she's working for, although it should be nobody because she's the boss.
I've been waiting, Snake, for a long time. Waiting for your birth, your growth, and the finality of today.
I found you! Brace yourself!
She has no sexual attraction towards Snake. She doesn't wear perfume that gives her away when she's supposed to be undercover. She doesn't need his help. She didn't sleep with anyone to get where she is, and is ultimately a patriot all the way to the end.
Take this. Keep it safe. It's our only hope.
The primary trigger emits a charge. You can punch stuff and send it flying.
I called my cat Boney, till she said it wouldn't do. I said, why? She said, sister, 'cause that's what I've been calling you.
Even though Olivia was dating a big shot mobster, she was pretty open about the fact that she didn't love him and he was pretty crazy about her.
Come on, sugar. How about a kiss for the road?
Oh, ick. Don't let me down, Nick. You're a lawyer. You're not supposed to have feelings.
Olivia Frenda's video games, Ingrid Bergman.
Katharine Hepburn.
Ingrid Bergman.
Katharine Hepburn.
Ingrid Bergman.
Katharine Hepburn.
I hate you.
What are you doing with a snake like Nick?
I'd lay it on you, Manny, but I don't think you'd get it.
Messing around with your boyfriend's lawyer is pretty dangerous.
Oh, maybe I was wrong. You do get it.
Hey, how about another poem?
Okay, last one, folks. With bony hands, I hold my partner. On soulless feet, we cross the floor. The music stops, as if to answer. An empty knocking at the door. It seems his skin was sweet as mango when last I held him to my breast. But now, we dance this grim fandango. And will for years before we rest.
My favorite line from Olivia is when Manny tells her that she has really bad taste in men, and she says, "No, I have a taste for really bad men. There's a difference."
Oh, I know that sentiment well.
Keep practicing that lingo, man. You'll get it.
What happened?
Now, boys, don't touch that stuff.
Lily! Oh, hey, Raz. Listen, I made you something. It's kind of stupid, but...
They stole Dogen's brains.
No, he's just like that.
I had a nightmare where this mad scientist guy said he was gonna take them out, and...
Was it a creepy-looking freak with a shower cap and a stainless steel three-pronged claw?
Hey, that's my nightmare.
So it's not just me.
But how? And why all the meat?
I don't know. But I think it's time I find out where this is coming from. Let's rendezvous tonight at the old boathouse for debriefing.
This is so cool.
Yeah! It feels like that time in True Psychic Tales 314 where... Shut up!
Alice is just a little too cute for me.
No way! Alice is one of the first best heroines in gaming. In Phantasy Star, she embarks on a quest for revenge after her brother is killed at the hands of a dictator named Vlasic. In the end, Alice defeats Vlasic, only to discover an even more sinister presence behind the throne, which he vanquishes in turn. So this girl, who starts off as little more than this anti-establishment punk, ends up saving the whole galaxy from terrible peril, all with a woman's touch.
Feel better now?
Tetra was a turn from the traditional girls in the series. Where previous Zeldas and Saria were bubbly and cute, Tetra was leader of the pirates. That's not simply a twist, that's a total paradigm shift. She's also responsible for stuffing Link into the barrel for one of the game's most memorable sequences. We like the kind of girl who can put Link in his place. Jade wasn't the first empowered woman in video games, but she's one of the most frequently cited. Jade protects both children and animals, but she isn't afraid to get nasty with the bad guys. This is the kind of thing you can expect from a freelance photojournalist on a war-torn planet.
Jade!
Good and Evil was a hit with critics, but it didn't sell particularly well in stores. We like to think that's because the largely male game-buying demographic was intimidated by the idea of a woman that could kick their collective asses.
Hello?
Remember me, Alex.
Edward Diego gives the hacker Level 1 access to Shodan, the artificial intelligence that controls Citadel Station.
This is exactly the kind of woman we need on the digital women's liberation front.
So, in other words, she's crazy.
I re-examine my priorities and draw new conclusions. The hacker's work is finished, but mine is only just...
You know, in the disc version of the game, I vaguely recall that she was actually referred to as he. Maybe we should reconsider her nomination.
Watch out, or I'm gonna stick Shodan on you.
Look at you, hacker. A pathetic creature of meat and bone, panting and sweating as you run through my corridors.
Okay, you know what? She can stay.
Bada bing, bada boom, I'll shake the room. You can't guess where I came from. Bada bing, bada boom, I'll shake the room. You can't guess where I came from. Bada bing, bada boom, I'll shake the room. You can't guess where I came from. Bada bing, bada boom, I'll shake the room. You can't guess where I came from. Bada bing, bada boom, I'll shake the room. You can't guess where I came from. Bada bing, bada boom, I'll shake the room. You can't guess where I came from. Bada bing, bada boom, I'll shake the room. You can't guess where I came from. Bada bing, bada boom, I'll shake the room. You can't guess where I came from. No. What's going on?
Lieutenant Kerrigan, my second in command, will elaborate.
I'll get straight to the point. Our sources tell us that Antigua Prime is ready to begin open revolt against the Confederacy. Unfortunately, the Confederates seem to be aware of this as well.
Fans will remember that Sarah Kerrigan, also known as the Queen of Blades, was a highly gifted child psychically. She emerged as one of the most powerful soldiers in the Terran fighting forces.
I've taken care of business on this end, Commander. I think the Antigans are ready to back us up, too.
You all know that the Confederates run a program for psychically gifted humans, training them to be ghosts. Those running the program found that the Zerg are attuned to the psychic emanations of ghosts.
Kerrigan is central to the StarCraft storyline, and soon becomes the series' anti-hero of sorts.
This is Kerrigan. We've neutralized the Protoss, but there's a wave of Zerg advancing on this position. We need immediate evac.
Belay that order. We're moving out.
I'm going down there. Arcturus knows what he's doing. I can't back out on him now.
But, being the very symbol of a brilliant and ruthless warrior, Kerrigan prevails, leaving you wondering where the story's gonna take her next.
Arise, my daughter. Arise, Kerrigan.
By your will, Father, I live to serve. Let all who oppose the Overmind feel the wrath of the Swarm.
Good to see you, Master Chief. Things aren't going well. Cortana did her best, but we never really had a chance.
A dozen Covenant superior battleships against a single Halcyon-class cruiser. With those odds, I'm content with 3, make that 4 kills. Sleep well?
No thanks to your driving, yes.
So you did miss me. I'm detecting Covenant movement outside the access ways. Activating motion tracker. Let's find a safe exit. The life pods are launching. We should hurry. Warning, blast doors closing. The Covenant are destroying the life pods. Warning, I've detected multiple Covenant dropships on approach. I recommend moving into those hills. If we're lucky, the Covenant will believe that everyone aboard this lifeboat died in the crash. Alert, Covenant dropship inbound. They must be looking for survivors. Keep your head down, there's 2 of us in here now, remember?
We're coming in too fast. Damn, air brake failure. They blew too early.
Chief? Chief, can you hear me? At last. Are you all right?
I remember Samus being a big victory for me as a young girl gamer. She was one of the first characters that didn't embody the typical female physicality. Now, modern feminists might believe that a woman should be able to look like a woman without being a sex object, but there's something admirable about her gender neutrality throughout the series.
Yeah, until her suit got boobs. I still find the ending of the early Metroid games to be pretty oppressive. I mean, here was this kick-ass female character who could be stripped down to a bikini if the male audience wished it. Do you really think a bounty hunter of this magnitude would let that happen?
No, I think she would blow their heads off.
It's too bad Samus couldn't be compensated with the home address of every kid who saw her in her swimwear. Hey, Daddy AO, you may control her moves, but you'll never really see all that goes into woman. Busted, breathless, banal, bimbo, that she will never be one with me. Oh no. Man is lame, woman is game.
We sit here at the crossroads of a generation. It's the middle of 2005, and by this time next year, we'll have 2, if not 3 new consoles to play with. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's devote the next half hour to looking at the current generation of consoles. We'll look at where they've been, where they're going, and what we'll all do when they're dead.
The GameCube launched in November 2001, effectively putting the final nail in the N64's coffin. The bulk of the GameCube's 2001 releases landed on the 17th, putting it right up against the release of the Xbox. The years following the GameCube's launch offered a handful of great, unique games. Nintendo took some chances and released some unique products over the last few years, and Animal Crossing's release in North America was definitely an unexpected surprise.
This is really happening.
Though the GameCube never made much of a splash with online-enabled games, it did offer some unique connectivity features. It was possible to string together a GameCube and a number of Game Boy Advance units for some unusual results. With the Nintendo Revolution set to land next year, and most third-party developers turning their backs on the GameCube sooner rather than later, the system's days are definitely numbered. However, there's one game that stands above all. As for the Revolution, it remains a mystery. What we do know, however, is that it will run old Nintendo games such as these.
The launch of the PlayStation 2 capped off Sony's successful entry into the video game business with the original PlayStation. The PlayStation 2 was an immediate sales success, though the games available at the system's launch weren't really an immediate indicator that the PS2 would be the juggernaut of the generation. As time marched on, the PlayStation 2 became the home of a bunch of huge games.
glad you could make it. The party's about to start.
How about Metal Gear Solid 2, huh? With its drive-you-crazy storyline, MGS2 was a game that got people talking, and then had them yammering on and on about the plot for years.
What did you just do? What is this? It's the switch for the biggest bomb in the entire place. Where is it? Go ahead, shoot me. I'm already dead. Damn!
Some of Sony's other big additions to the gaming landscape include the Ratchet & Clank series and the ever-popular, ever-dark God of War. The PlayStation 2 definitely got its share of sometimes useful peripherals. The network adapter, obviously, is the most useful PS2 add-on you can get. The iToy might not have a ton of available games, but the unique games that have been made available are interesting diversions from the norm. The PlayStation 2 hard drive seemed like a really neat idea at the time, but instead, it's only good for Final Fantasy XI. Though the PlayStation 3 is currently under development and scheduled for release next year, there are still a handful of sharp-sounding PS2 games planned for release this year. Sony showed off a ridiculous amount of new footage back at E3 2005, including a new Warhawk game, a Killzone sequel, and more. But is any of that stuff real? We'll have to wait a little while longer to know for sure.
No one really expected that Microsoft would have been so successful with its first foray into video game consoles. The Xbox launched back in November of 2001 with a bunch of games, and yet it really only launched with one.
All you greenhorns who wanted to see Covenant up close, this is gonna be your lucky day.
Kabuki Warriors. Words simply cannot describe how amazingly awful this game is. Out of the gate, the Xbox struggled. Although Halo was a runaway success, few other games even began to approach that same level of depth and quality. Eventually, Microsoft released Halo 2.
Oh, I know what the ladies like.
Between Halo and Halo 2, we got some stunning games. Though it wasn't the only console with online games this generation, the Xbox did online right.
Watch out, Chief. Wraiths on the far side.
That is another Halo.
The future of the Xbox is the Xbox 360. Microsoft's last original Xbox game is Conquer Live and Reloaded. But Fable: The Lost Chapters is on for later this year. Some third-party games are still in development for the old Xbox.
Well, it looks like we've come to the end of the road for the GameCube. I remember when I first picked it up and got my copy of Super Monkey Ball. It was unlike anything I'd ever played before. It was pretty amazing.
The highs were so high, but they were so few and far between, you know? It's like Nintendo's games were fantastic, but what else was there?
Well, there's stuff like Resident Evil 4. You can't discount that. Capcom gave it a good swing. There's Killer 7. There's plenty of other good third-party games. I remember when I spent New Year's with Animal Crossing trying to get the special costumes and talking to Tom Nook. I'm going to miss him the most.
Pour one out for Tom Nook.
Had a good run, you know. If people just believed in the system more, things might have turned out a little different, but
it didn't have to end this way.
It was a grand, grand adventure.
Too bad it didn't have any online support.
You could always hook up your Game Boy to it.
Yeah, too bad about not having any online support.
Yeah.
To me, what stands out about the Xbox, the thing I'll always remember, is all those 12-year-old kids yelling into my earpiece, telling me that I'm gay, asking about chocolate milk.
Bring me chocolate milk! Why? I want some chocolate milk!
But for all the trials and tribulations you went through, Xbox Live really was a revolutionary thing. It totally changed the way that anyone thought online gaming could be done, and without the Xbox, what we're seeing in the future probably wouldn't happen.
This system made console shooters go far beyond their means that they've ever accomplished in the past. I think a lot of PC gamers may have switched over to consoles because of the Xbox.
Definitely made it at least worth giving it a shot. I waited in line overnight to get my first PlayStation 2.
It was cold out in front of that Walmart.
Raining. It was terrible.
It was worth it.
It might not have been the most powerful system in the world, but with the sheer number of games and just the number of different genres that that thing covered, you know, no matter what you were into, the PlayStation 2 totally had something right up your alley.
Well, my alley happened to be filled with criminals in Grand Theft Auto 3. Without Grand Theft Auto 3, who knows what video gaming would be like today. It changed the face of it, and that was thanks to the PlayStation 2.
The PlayStation 2 made a whole lot of things possible. Definitely took gaming in a much more mainstream direction.
I don't know that I'm ready to say goodbye, but I think it's time to move on.
You're right.
Has this ever happened to you?
So I know it might seem obvious, but dust to me seems like the dopest map in the game. Oh yes, I also love the dust. You playing 1.6 still, or did you move over to Source yet? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Can't keep up with today's game lingo? Well, then you're in luck, because over the next 30 minutes, we're going to give you a sneak peek of an exciting new video cassette series designed to teach you how to talk the talk without making you play all those pesky games. You'll get hits like Final Fantasy VII in 30 seconds. Okay, there's this company called Shinra, right? They're in the power business because of these things called Mako reactors that pump energy out of the planet. Unfortunately, that energy comes from like the souls of the dead, so they're literally sucking the life energy right out of the planet. A rebel group named Avalanche sets out to destroy the reactors and save the planet, but they can't do it alone, so they hire this mercenary kid named Cloud. Real whiner. He dresses up in drag, he clashes with this dude named Sephiroth, and the ending's left open to interpretation. Oh, and Eris dies. Have you ever wished that you could freeze your fighting game opponents in place so that they'd stop whooping up on you? Hey, who hasn't, right? This one only works in early releases of the arcade version of Street Fighter 2. Future versions fixed it because, well, that's what you do when you have a game with annoying glitches. With this trick, known as Guile's handcuffs, you can essentially lock up your opponent and keep him attached to your side. You can't actually hit your opponent while he's cuffed, but hey, that's why this glitch is pretty crazy, right? If you're feeling really insidious, there's another move you can do that resets the game. But do not do this in an arcade. You will get your ass kicked.
I can't wait to bomb some Dodongos!
You've got to be kidding. Look. Your mind has been placed in a cerebral support mechanism.
Welcome to paradise, kid.
Lock and load!
Come the pup.
Kill them all, let God sort them out. Oh, that's got it. That's it, I'm out of here.
Well, partner, this level ain't big enough for the two of us.
I love the smell of bug spray in the morning. It smells like licorice.
Battle stations, scramble everybody, all pilots up now!
The victory will benefit greatly from having a wing commander of your stature and experience.
God in spite of the kingdom.
Really?
Wow, I'm feeling smarter already. And that's just the beginning. With our patented cleansing techniques, you'll be fragging the noobs in no time. The who? With the what? You've got a lot to learn. Let's take a break and let some of this sink in. We'll be right back.
Brought to you by Lee.
Now let me paint a nightmare scenario for you here, folks. It's a cold, dark night. Your car breaks down and you're stranded. You stumble into the nearest hotel and find a LAN party. Rows and rows of smelly players, jacked out of their minds on energy drinks.
No! I don't even speak the same language as these guys. I'll be stuck forever.
With our patent-pending How to Be a Player video series, you'll be back on the road in no time. Just watch. Obviously, you're going to need to be able to talk a pretty good game when it comes to first-person shooters. Just use handy phrases like rocket jumping and headshots, and you should do just fine. If the topic strays to a shooter you might not be familiar with, refer to this handy video guide for help. Shogo switched off between on-foot levels and sequences that would put you in a giant robot suit. Hexen ran on the same engine that powered Doom, but was much more about magic and the occult than Doom ever was. Wolfenstein 3D was the game that came before Doom. It's the game that basically popularized this whole style of gaming to begin with. Duke Nukem 3D married first-person shooter gameplay with a wisecracking hero that made the whole thing feel a lot more like an action movie. Especially since he stole a bunch of his catchphrases from Bruce Campbell.
Let's rock.
GoldenEye was the first console-only first-person shooter that was worth taking seriously. It was also a good early example of a game that had location-specific damage. Quake was the game that took the whole thing online because Quake was built for the internet. Of course, no one would have enough bandwidth to play it properly until like a year after it came out. Unreal was, essentially, not Quake. The Quake versus Unreal rivalry heated up when both series went for a multiplayer focus with Quake 3 Arena and Unreal Tournament. We recommend you flip a coin to determine your allegiance, but really, UT is way better. Okay, so Halo opens with you being woken up out of some kind of crazy cryostasis because you're some kind of badass cybernetic space marine called the Master Chief. This alien race called the Covenant has been causing trouble all over the galaxy and they're looking for Earth. You land on their ancient religious artifact, a big lush space ring they call Halo. At the end of Halo, you blow that ring apart. In Halo 2, the bad guys find Earth, but instead of defending it, you go find another big space ring and a weird alien plant. Oh, and you also play as Keith David. Ooh, one more thing, the ending sucks. Okay, look, there are plenty of people out there that play real-time strategy games, but it's perfectly acceptable to skip them. You really don't need to know anything about this style of gaming. But if you're trying to impress someone, just claim that you dropped out of college to play on the Korean professional StarCraft circuit. That should work. Okay, so now you know the Neo Geo was crazy expensive when it came out like 15 years ago. But there's more to know about this system if you want people to truly believe that you're hardcore. The Neo Geo is a cartridge-based system devoted to bringing the arcade experience home. And with a few exceptions where home versions were, for some reason, censored, that's exactly what you got. Games like Magician Lord represent the system's early flavor. But since the Neo Geo lived during the big fight game boom of the 90s, many of the system's best games were fighters. Games like Samurai Showdown 2, Art of Fighting 2, King of Fighters 95, Last Blade, Waku Waku 7, and Mark of the Wolves were all games that put their own spin on the 2D fighter. But that's not all the system had to offer. There are the Metal Slug games, which were sort of a pumped-up Contra-style series that grew to 6 games over the years. You could also find shooters like Polestar. It may have been expensive, but if you were a fighting game fan, the Neo Geo was worth every penny.
Dude, ninjas?
Yes, my boy, ninjas. When you roll with our How to Be a Player video series, you roll sick and deep. And you also roll with large, fire-breathing Russians. But don't take my word for it. All right, welcome back to the party. By now, you should have a pretty good idea of what our How to Be a Player video series is all about. Every 6 to 8 weeks, you'll receive a new video cassette that contains the latest in game news fakery, like this old favorite. Okay, this one's easy. You know how every Zelda game puts you in the role of a kid named Link and asks you to save Zelda from an evil, crazy pigman named Ganon? Well, guess what this one makes you do? Yep. Same thing. Oh, but here you get to do some time traveling and switch between little boy Link and adult Link. So, that's different, I guess. Oh, and did I mention it's one of the greatest games of all time? That's probably important, too. Fantastic. This party's really heating up now. Hey, having a good time?
Oh, heck yeah. With all this game info at my fingertips, I've gone from part-time Madden player to the guy that can tell you why the Super Nintendo version of Mortal Kombat was totally lame.
And we're just getting started. Let's take a look at this clip from our advanced series on game tattoos. Now, what if I told you you were missing out on an underground world full of hot, exciting parties just like this one? You want in? Of course you do. But if you don't know the code, you're stuck at home. That's where we come in. Take a look at this clip about obscure portables. If you run into any militant players, chances are they're going to judge you more by what you hate than by what you actually like. Here are some real-world defenses to use in the wild.
Look at them down there. Offense, defense, it doesn't matter. They just want to start hitting somebody.
Butt nugget? What's happening, fellas?
Okay, let's see. You're a secret agent named Solid Snake. You sneak into this base and try to rescue a guy, but he has a heart attack. Turns out it was something called Fox Die. You blow up the big walking tank named Metal Gear and deal with your crazy twin brother. In the sequel, you play Solid Snake. Wait, no, you don't. You play as this sissy named Raiden. You can hide in cardboard boxes. The president, he's in this group called the La Lu Lile Lo or something, and he grabs your crotch. This girl keeps harassing you on the radio. Hell, I don't know. It's all a VR mission anyway.
We're not just pawns in some simulation game, you know.
Yes, you are.
Our How to Be a Player series is poised to give you everything you need to know about games without having to play all those games. That's it. No tiny classified ads, no magic bullets here, friends. Just the facts, fast and easy. And hey, look at our friend here.
Now I'm the hit of all the LAN parties, and I never even had to pick up a controller. Thanks, player.
No, friend, thank you. If you'd like to take the challenge, fire up your internet online web browser and point it at www.gamespot.com/beaplayer. Act now. Supplies are limited.